Rachel Reeves set out the government's spending plans, pledging to renew Britain yesterday. So there's more cash for defence and for housing, and an extra £29 billion per year for the NHS in England. Now, they've said that £4 billion of that is for adult social care, but let me tell you what the true bill for carers. They think that the true bill is actually £184 billion per year. So the government giving £4 billion, one could argue, Jane, barely scratches the surface.
Yeah, it's a complete drop in the ocean, isn't it? And, you know, the billions more to the NHS, we already pay more into the NHS than we've ever done in the history of this country. And yes, it needs money, but we need reform before that. But that's a whole other... Otherwise, it just gets poured into this sort of black hole of inefficiency. But, yeah, £4 billion for carers...
Yeah, for unpaid carers,
it's just nothing, is it, really? And, you know, unpaid carers in this country save the state an absolute fortune. And... You know, it's all well and good, I suppose. A lot of people as adults make the decision that they want to be a carer. Some feel that they have to. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's because they genuinely want to do it. But the absolute scandal, I still think, of this country is that we still have child carers.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that £4 billion is going to go anywhere, it needs to be specifically targeted at children who are having to care for a parent.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a situation that no child should have to go through, really. And we hear time and time again about the impact that it has on young people, on their education, for example, their future prospects, for example. I mean, when my mum was ill, they gave a lot of responsibility for my siblings. I took on a lot of that responsibility when I was 16, so I'd miss morning lessons in the morning so I could take them to school and to nursery. And I was doing parents' evenings, and I was doing a lot of the discipline, and I was helping with the cooking when I would come home from school. All of that stuff to sort of muck in and help within the family because we needed to, because there was no other help available. But for those when you're the only child in the house that's having to care for a mother or a father or siblings, you know, no child should have to really go through that, you know. But then one could argue when it comes to adults and adult social care, you know, some could argue that perhaps it should be a family's responsibility to look after, especially when it comes to elderly relatives, that families should do that. I know that your parents live next door to each other, next door to you, don't they, Nance?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm one of the really lucky ones because my parents do look... I mean, it's lovely because they're right next door, so we help with food and all of that, but they do look after themselves. My dad's 92 this year, my mum's 87. So, I mean, I am so blessed because I've seen my friends through it. I saw Kay going through it. I've seen you with your mum, who's... And it's a lot.
Yeah.
And... imagining people doing that with no support and no money on top is just too much.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Kate Garraway's given an interview today about caring for Derek and how she sort of sacrificed her own health. And, you know, people might look at that, and people have looked at that, particularly unpleasant people, I think. They go, oh, you're a TV presenter, you earn all this money, what's your It makes no difference what you earn. If you have to care for somebody 24/7, it has a drain, it has an effect on you. And she was saying that, you know, she rang up a helpline at one point and said, I literally need some help here. And this woman said to her, look, unofficially, I get these calls all the time, just take him to A&E and leave him there. Now, what sort of a system is that? And, of course, Kate's not going to do that. But it's like that's the only way that you can get help in a crisis in terms of when you're caring for somebody and you're at your wit's end with it. And, you know, there are lots of people out there like that. There are a lot of people that cope very admirably, but there are a lot of people who are completely sandwiched, and they're between kids, you know, parents that need looking after, maybe other things in the family. And
surely that doesn't make financial sense because people are going to get ill.
And they're going to have to give up their job.
Yeah, and then give up their job, or then maybe end up in, you know, in hospital themselves, especially as you get older and you're maybe having to lift another partner. I mean, it makes sense to give carers real support at home, I think. Because it's always nicer for the person to be
And a lot of the time,
they're
not people who go, what about me, what about me? You know, you're a selfless person, you're looking after somebody, you're giving everything, you're forgetting your own sense of self within it all. And you're not the kind of person that's going to go to the front of the queue and say, I need help.
No. Yeah.
But in a way, you know, the state takes advantage of that, because if you're not making a noise, they're not going to give you anything.
Yeah. No.
And how was it when you were looking after your mum?
Well, my mum lost her partner and we started to realise that something wasn't right with her. And then gradually we realised that she had dementia. And so me and my two sisters, she went into a Marie Curie home in Hampstead. And the last time she went out...
That was for cancer, though, right?
For cancer. Yeah, but they couldn't operate on her because she was too frail. And then we realised that something was wrong. And she went into Marie Curie and was there for 5 months. And me and my two sisters would be there every day. One of us would be there with her. And then eventually she came home and one of us would stay with her every night. But she really, really struggled, and we struggled as well.
Yeah.
But, my mum is living with dementia, and for a period of time, I tried to care for her in my house, and it was a nightmare. She didn't want me looking after her. I didn't want to be looking after her. We fought like cat and dog. It was hellish. I'm not going to lie, you know. I love her dearly. But in the end, I managed to get her into a care home. We're really lucky because my mother can self-fund because she had saved all her life. And it means now...
I've been there, it's lovely.
Yeah,
place.
you came with me, and I go every other day, and it means I can have a normal, well, as normal as you can do with somebody living with dementia, and have a normal relationship with her rather than me going, do this, do that, let me do this, let me do that, and her going, get off me.
But you've had to very much put yourself down on the list. I know you would never say that. You
but a lot of people watching this would go, oh, my God, how dare, you know, how could you put your mother in a care home? Well, that was my decision, and I think it's
Having
what's
met
best
your
for
mum,
her.
I think she would prefer to be, because you're both quite similar.
But it's what's best for her, and it's what's best for me, quite frankly.
I want to pick up on... Oh, sorry. I just want to pick on one thing that you said about self-funding, just because I was wondering... Not a lot of people think far enough ahead to what happens when I'm older if I get sick.
Yeah.
How can I help lessen that burden on my family? How can I prepare for that? And I feel like not a lot of families do that.
No.
Well, I suppose it depends, doesn't it? Because if you have a job that isn't very well paid, so all your life you're spending what you earn, then you're not going to be able to save. You know, not everybody can save. And those are the people that we need this money to be targeted towards, because, you know...
It's quite a good thing to have a conversation ahead of time with siblings and stuff. It was lovely that you and your sisters all shared that, and, like, power of attorney for health. That's another thing I didn't know anything about. That's a really good thing to have, so that you can make
do in
decisions.
advance.
They're separate. Financing and health.
Health is a different thing. Because you might know what they wanted and they might not be able to say that, and then the decision can be taken out of your hand. I just wanted to read this here from Yvonne, who says, I've not worked for just over 2 years. My health feels like it's getting worse this year, especially after having pneumonia. But I wouldn't be without my lovely hubby Neil, who does a lot for me and still works full-time. His magic cuddles make me feel better for a while. Oh, and I bet for so many carers. In fact, we've got an audience member here today, haven't we, Angela? Oh, it's so lovely you're getting a bit of time off, because Angela looks after her cares for her child and her husband, and it is about... getting that time for yourself. Whatever your financial situation is, the physical and mental pressure is there, isn't it? It's a lot, and you have to put yourself down in the list.
And you have to make sure you do look after yourself. So if there are any unpaid carers who are watching us right now, let's give them a huge round of applause.
Yeah.
A huge shout out to you all.